Canada has long carried a reputation as one of the most open and welcoming countries in the world. It is a nation built by immigrants, strengthened by diversity, and known internationally for stability, safety, and opportunity. But for millions of travelers worldwide, visiting Canada hasn't always been simple. Until recently, many visitors faced a lengthy, expensive, and uncertain visa application process. It could take weeks or even months to get approved, with no guarantee of success. Families were often separated by paperwork. Tourists gave up on their plans because of delays. And students sometimes chose other destinations simply because Canada's entry requirements were too complicated. That's why Canada's Electronic Travel Authorization System, or ETA, has been such an important development. First introduced in 2015, the ETA allows eligible travelers from visa-exempt countries to apply online for quick approval before boarding a flight to Canada. It's cheaper, faster, and simpler than a traditional visa. So what does this mean in practice? For travelers from these 5 nations, it means fewer barriers, lower costs, and quicker entry to Canada. For Canadian families with relatives abroad, it means easier reunions. For businesses and universities, it means more visitors, more students, and more collaboration. And for Canada itself, it means more tourism revenue, more cultural exchange, and a stronger global presence. Argentina, Canada's new Latin American gateway, Argentina, is often described as the land of contrasts. From the tango-filled streets of Buenos Aires to the icy peaks of Patagonia, it offers travelers a blend of European elegance and South American passion. Yet until now, many Argentinians who dreamed of visiting Canada faced an obstacle that kept them away, a complex visa process that discouraged tourism, education, and business exchange. With Canada's 2025 update, Argentinians now enjoy visa-free travel under the ETA system. This is more than a convenience. It is a symbolic gesture that reflects Canada's growing interest in Latin America and its recognition of Argentina as a partner with immense potential. Canadian destinations like Niagara Falls, Banff, and the Rockies will offer experiences that combine the breathtaking landscapes Argentinians already love with something fresh and new. For a society where skiing, football, and cultural exploration are part of the national spirit, Canada is suddenly within reach. The economic value of this shift is also important. On average, Argentine travelers spend more than $1,200 on international trips. Even if just a fraction of those 12 million outbound tourists choose Canada as their next destination, the impact on Canadian airlines, hotels, restaurants, and local shops will be significant. Tourism is not just about vacations. It is about jobs, growth, and the stories people bring back home that encourage more visitors to follow. There is also a geopolitical message here. Canada's inclusion of Argentina in the new visa-free list is not just about tourism or trade. It is also about recognizing Argentina's role as one of the largest and most influential countries in Latin America. At a time when global powers are competing for influence in South America, Canada's gesture is a way of signaling that it wants to build trust and partnership through accessibility rather than distance. It is a softer but very powerful form of diplomacy. At the same time, this policy has deep personal meaning for the Argentine community already living in Canada. Though small compared to other immigrant groups, the Argentine diaspora is vibrant, particularly in cities like Toronto and Vancouver. For these families, visa-free travel means fewer missed milestones. It means grandparents can attend weddings or birthdays without uncertainty. It means cultural groups can invite artists or performers from Buenos Aires to festivals in Canada without months of paperwork. It brings the homeland closer in ways that matter to ordinary people. For Argentina, this move means opportunity. For Canada, it means growth. And for both, it marks the beginning of a new chapter, where tango and the maple leaf come closer than ever before. And as we move further through this story, we now turn to another country on the new list, one that has made ecotourism its identity and built a reputation as a global model for sustainability. Costa Rica. The ecotourism jewel Costa Rica is a country that has built its global reputation not on size or military power, but on something far more unique, its commitment to nature, peace, and sustainable living. Nestled in Central America between the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, it is one of the most biodiverse nations on Earth. For decades, travelers have flocked to its beaches, rainforests, and volcanoes. But when it came to visiting Canada, Costa Ricans faced the same obstacles as Argentinians: visa applications, long waits, and uncertainty. With Canada's 2025 update, that barrier has now been lifted. Costa Ricans can travel with ease under the ETA system, and the benefits for both sides are profound. To understand why this change matters, it helps to look at the travel culture of Costa Rica itself. Though it is a small country of just over 5 million people, Costa Ricans are among the most well-traveled citizens in Latin America. They are proud of their identity, curious about the world, and eager to share their own culture abroad. For many years, Costa Rica's strongest international ties were with the United States, given geography and history. But Canada has quietly become an increasingly attractive destination. The problem was never lack of interest, it was the paperwork and costs. Now, with those barriers removed, more Costa Ricans will be able to experience what Canada has to offer, and more Canadians will feel a stronger connection to a country they already admire. Tourism will be one of the first areas to feel the impact. Costa Ricans traveling abroad often look for destinations that reflect their own values: safe, environmentally conscious, and welcoming. Canada fits that description perfectly. The natural landscapes of the Rockies, the charm of Canada's national parks, and the emphasis on outdoor activities resonate with the eco-tourist mindset that is already part of Costa Rica's DNA. Just as tourists from around the world travel to Costa Rica for its rainforests, Canadians can expect that Costa Ricans will travel north to explore pristine lakes, mountain trails, and snowy adventures that they cannot experience at home. The cultural and human connections are just as important. Canada already has a visible Costa Rican community, though small, and this change will make it easier for families to reunite. It will also bring more opportunities for cultural exchange. Costa Rica is famous for its music, dance, and its philosophy of pura vida, the pure life. Canadians who are known for valuing quality of life, outdoor recreation, and multiculturalism are likely to connect deeply with that ethos. Imagine a Costa Rican cultural festival in Toronto, bringing together traditional dance with Canadian music, or Canadian students studying sustainable farming techniques in Costa Rica, and then bringing that knowledge back home. The easier the travel, the richer those exchanges become. Politically, the inclusion of Costa Rica in Canada's new visa-free list carries symbolism. Costa Rica is one of the few countries in the world without a standing army. It abolished its military in 1949 and has since invested heavily in education, healthcare, and the environment. In a world where many countries measure strength by military might, Costa Rica represents a different path, one that Canada respects and wants to support. By granting visa-free access, Canada is reinforcing the idea that shared values like democracy, sustainability, and human rights are the cornerstones of international partnerships. There is also a regional perspective. Central America is a region that faces many challenges, from migration pressures to economic inequality. Costa Rica, however, has long stood out as an example of stability and good governance. By strengthening ties with Costa Rica, Canada is also sending a message that it wants to support positive leadership in the region. This move differentiates Canada from other global powers that sometimes treat Central America only as a transit zone for migrants. Instead, Canada is treating Costa Rica as a full partner, one that brings unique strengths to the relationship. Ultimately, this change is about trust and opportunity. Costa Rica has shown the world that small nations can lead in areas like sustainability and peace. Canada has shown that it values those contributions by opening its doors. Together, the two countries can deepen their relationship in ways that go beyond statistics. They can collaborate on climate change, education, cultural preservation, and sustainable tourism, setting an example of how nations large and small can work together. For Costa Ricans, this moment is a chance to discover Canada without barriers. For Canadians, it is an opportunity to welcome travelers who share their love of nature, community, and the environment. It is more than a policy change. It is an invitation to build bridges of understanding. As we move forward, the story of visa-free travel takes us across the Atlantic to North Africa, where another country with deep cultural and linguistic ties to Canada has just been given the same opportunity. Morocco. A bridge between Africa, Europe, and Canada. Morocco is a country that has always stood at the crossroads of civilizations. Sitting at the northern edge of Africa, only a short distance across the Strait of Gibraltar from Europe, it is a land where Arab, Berber, and European influences blend into a unique cultural identity. Its bustling souks, historic cities like Marrakesh and Fez, and stunning natural landscapes have made it one of the most visited countries in Africa. Yet for Moroccans who wanted to visit Canada, the journey was often slowed by the weight of visa requirements. In 2025, that barrier has finally been lifted, with Canada granting Morocco a place on its new visa-free list. This decision carries not only practical benefits, but also deep symbolic value. For Moroccan travelers, the removal of visa requirements is a game changer. Millions of Moroccans travel abroad every year, with France and Spain being the most popular destinations due to proximity and shared language ties. Canada, however, is already a familiar name in Morocco, thanks to its large diaspora and its shared French heritage in Quebec. But visas made trips expensive and uncertain. Now, with ETA access, Moroccan families will find it far easier to reunite with relatives in Canada. Tourists will be more likely to consider Canadian destinations, and business connections will strengthen without bureaucratic barriers standing in the way. Tourism also stands to gain enormously. Canada offers Moroccans a very different kind of travel experience than Europe. The allure of Canadian landscapes, from the endless forests of Ontario to the snowy peaks of Alberta, offers something that is new and exciting for travelers who are used to the Mediterranean climate. Meanwhile, for Canadian tourism operators, Morocco's middle-class travelers represent an untapped market. The average Moroccan international tourist spends generously, particularly on family-oriented travel. By making the process easier, Canada is signaling that it is ready to welcome these visitors with open arms. Economically, Morocco is one of Africa's rising stars. It is an important hub for trade, renewable energy, and manufacturing. The country has invested heavily in solar and wind power, building one of the largest solar farms in the world. Canada, which is also pursuing a clean energy future, sees Morocco as a strategic partner in this area. Business delegations from Rabat to Montreal and from Toronto to Casablanca will now find it far easier to move across borders. Canadian firms with interests in Africa will benefit from smoother ties, and Moroccan entrepreneurs will see Canada as a more accessible market for their products and services. For Moroccans, this is an opening of doors, a chance to experience Canada's multicultural cities, its vast natural wonders, and its educational opportunities without the weight of bureaucratic obstacles. For Canadians, it is a chance to welcome more visitors who bring with them rich traditions, strong family values, and a culture that adds depth to the Canadian mosaic. For both countries, it is a reinforcement of ties that go beyond politics and economics, reaching into the everyday lives of people who now find each other just a little bit closer. And so Morocco's inclusion is more than a policy update. It is a step forward in building a future where Canada's partnerships are more global, more diverse, and more reflective of the interconnected world we live in. From here, our journey takes us across the Pacific to a country with one of the largest diasporas in Canada, a nation whose ties to Canada are already strong and now set to become even stronger. The Philippines, strengthening a family bond. Among all the countries added to Canada's visa-free list in 2025, few have a connection as deep and personal as the Philippines. For decades, Filipinos have been a vital part of Canada's social fabric. They are one of the largest immigrant groups in the country, with a community that spans from Vancouver to Toronto, Winnipeg to Calgary. They work in healthcare, education, business, and countless other fields. They fill classrooms as students and concert halls with their culture. They are neighbors, colleagues, and friends. For this community, Canada's new visa-free policy is not just a convenience. It is a profound shift that touches everyday life in ways that statistics alone cannot capture. The Filipino community in Canada is already enormous, with estimates placing the population at nearly 1 million. That means almost every Canadian knows a Filipino family, has worked with a Filipino colleague, or has enjoyed the warmth of Filipino hospitality at some point. Yet, despite these close ties, the system of travel between the two countries has often been complicated. Parents, siblings, or grandparents visiting from Manila or Cebu had to go through lengthy visa applications, sometimes waiting months just for a chance to see family. Many reunions were delayed, some were canceled altogether. Now, with the introduction of visa-free travel through the ETA, those barriers are falling away. Families can reconnect more easily, and the bond between the Philippines and Canada grows stronger. The practical impact on tourism will be immediate. Filipinos are among the most travel-loving people in Asia, and they are known for traveling not just as individuals, but in large family groups. With more affordable and less complicated entry to Canada, the tourism industry in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary will feel the benefits. Hotels, restaurants, airlines, and local attractions will all see an increase in Filipino visitors. These travelers do not just sightsee, they spend on shopping, food, and cultural experiences, leaving a noticeable boost in local economies. The economic contributions of the Filipino community are already enormous. In Canada, Filipino workers have been essential in healthcare, particularly as nurses and caregivers, but also in fields ranging from technology to engineering. The ability for relatives to visit without visas means that these workers, many of whom have been separated from family for years, will experience a new sense of balance and well-being. A grandmother from Manila will now be able to come to Canada for a graduation without worrying about paperwork. A cousin will be able to attend a wedding in Winnipeg without the uncertainty of visa approvals. These are not small things, they are the daily moments of connection that strengthen a community. From a broader perspective, this decision also reinforces Canada's role in the Indo-Pacific. The Philippines is a key nation in Southeast Asia, not only because of its population of more than 100 million, but also because of its strategic location and growing economy. As global powers focus on the Indo-Pacific for trade and security, Canada's gesture of opening its doors to Filipinos is a soft but powerful form of diplomacy. It signals trust, respect, and a desire for deeper partnership. There is also a cultural element that cannot be overlooked. Filipinos are known worldwide for their love of music, food, and celebration. Festivals like Taste of Manila in Toronto already draw huge crowds, showcasing Filipino cuisine and performance. With easier travel, artists and performers from the Philippines will find it easier to join these events, enriching Canada's cultural calendar even more. The exchange will not be one way either. Canadians who visit the Philippines will discover the country's beaches, hospitality, and vibrant traditions, carrying those experiences back with them. The symbolism of this visa-free policy is clear. It tells Filipinos, you are not outsiders, you are part of our family. Canada is not just opening its borders, it is embracing a relationship that has already been built on trust and shared values. The Filipino values of resilience, hard work, and community align closely with Canadian ideals, which is why integration has been so natural over the years. This new policy ensures that the bridge between the two nations will grow even stronger. The Philippines' inclusion in the visa-free list is not just a policy update, it is a statement of friendship. It acknowledges history, embraces the present, and builds a future where borders matter less and human connections matter more. And as we continue exploring this story, our journey moves to another Asian nation whose tourism power and cultural richness have made it one of the most visited countries in the world. Thailand, tourism, trade, and ties with Canada. When most people think of Thailand, images of golden temples, bustling street markets, and tropical beaches come to mind. Known as the Land of Smiles, Thailand has become one of the world's top tourist destinations, attracting millions each year to Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Phuket, and beyond. But beyond tourism, Thailand is a nation of economic resilience, cultural richness, and strategic importance in Southeast Asia. In 2025, its inclusion on Canada's visa-free travel list marks not just an opening of borders, but a recognition of Thailand's growing significance on the global stage. For Thai travelers, this new policy is transformative. Canada was often seen as distant and complicated to reach, not just because of geography, but because of the visa process. Even for tourists who had the financial means and desire to explore Canada, the paperwork and waiting discouraged many from making the journey. With the simplified ETA system now available, the door is wide open. Thai families planning international vacations will find Canada suddenly far more attractive. Instead of focusing only on traditional destinations like Japan, South Korea, or Europe, Canada will now appear as a fresh and exciting option. The impact on tourism will be immediate. Thai travelers are increasingly affluent, and international travel is part of their lifestyle. They tend to value cultural experiences, shopping, and food, areas where Canada has a lot to offer. Vancouver, with its mix of nature and city life, or Toronto, with its cultural diversity, are bound to attract a share of Thai tourists looking for something new. Niagara Falls, Banff National Park, and Quebec's historic cities will also become more visible on Thai travel itineraries. Every Thai tourist who decides to visit Canada brings not only tourism dollars, but also cultural exchange and long-term goodwill. Canada, on the other hand, gains a stronger foothold in one of Asia's most important tourism and trade hubs. Thailand is not just a source of tourists, it is also an economic gateway to Southeast Asia, a region with more than 650 million people. Trade between Canada and Thailand has been growing, but business travel has always carried the weight of visa barriers. By easing entry requirements, Canada is sending a signal to Thai entrepreneurs and investors. Canada is open for business, open for collaboration, and open for deeper partnerships. Education also plays an important role. Many Thai students look abroad for higher education, and English-speaking countries are at the top of their list. Canada already attracts students from Thailand, but the visa-free system makes the decision even easier. A student who once worried about delays or rejections can now plan with greater confidence. The result will be more young Thais experiencing Canadian campuses, contributing to academic life, and building careers that link the two countries. These students often become lifelong cultural ambassadors, carrying Canada with them wherever they go. There is also a cultural synergy between Thailand and Canada that makes this development particularly meaningful. Thai culture, with its emphasis on hospitality, respect, and community, resonates with Canadian values of inclusivity and openness. Canada, in turn, offers Thai travelers and students a safe and welcoming environment, where multiculturalism is not just tolerated but celebrated. Thai food, which is already beloved in Canada, will only grow in popularity as more Thai chefs and cultural entrepreneurs travel freely, enriching Canadian cities with flavors and traditions. The symbolism of visa-free travel is not lost on Thailand. It is a sign that Canada sees Thailand as a trusted partner, worthy of easier access and deeper collaboration. It reflects Canada's recognition that Thailand is not just a destination for tourism, but a country with shared values and potential for mutual growth. For Thailand, it is a moment of pride, showing that its citizens are welcomed by one of the most diverse and open societies in the world. This new chapter between Thailand and Canada is about more than planes and passports. It is about friendship. It is about building bridges across oceans, where Thai tourists walk the streets of Montreal, where Canadian students backpack through Chiang Mai, and where businesses in Bangkok and Toronto shake hands with fewer barriers in their way. It is about the idea that travel should not just be a privilege for the few, but a shared experience that connects people, cultures, and futures. Thailand's addition to the visa-free list is another piece of the puzzle in Canada's evolving global outreach. With every country added, the picture becomes clearer. Canada is building not only a stronger tourism economy, but also deeper human connections. As we leave Southeast Asia and continue our journey, we turn our attention back to Africa, to a country rich in culture, resilience, and history. A new era of connection. As we reflect on Canada's decision to extend visa-free travel to Argentina, Costa Rica, Morocco, the Philippines, and Thailand, one truth stands out. This is more than just a change in travel policy. It is a redefinition of how Canada sees itself in the world and how it chooses to build bridges instead of barriers. By opening its doors wider, Canada is making a statement that it believes in the power of connection, in the benefits of cultural exchange, and in the opportunities that come when people can move freely. For travelers, this is about experiencing new horizons without the weight of paperwork. For families, it is about reunions that happen more often, milestones that can be shared in person, and relationships that grow stronger. For students, it is about access to opportunities that can shape careers and futures. For businesses, it is about faster, smoother collaboration that creates growth on both sides. Of course, there will always be practical challenges. Immigration systems must adapt, airports must handle more travelers, and communities must be ready to welcome new faces. But Canada has always been defined by its ability to integrate diversity and to see difference not as a weakness, weakness, but as a strength. This new wave of visitors will only enrich that story further.